Some animated sequels take everything you loved about the original and make it better. Others make you wonder whether the writers even watched the first movie. Here are the best and worst sequels from every animation studio, starting with Sony's worst movie.
Some of us with huge muscles.
I'm not exaggerating when I say that this is 70% of the film in one clip. Surf's Up 2 Wave Mania is the textbook example of how not to do a sequel. Sony took everything people loved about the first Surf's Up, threw it in the garbage, and replaced it with one long WWE advertisement. No, really, that's what this movie is. It's built around wrestlers whose entire personalities get copy-pasted straight into the film.
Behold the most extreme team, surfing the earth and living the dream.
The Hang Five are basically WWE cameos with surfboards. You've got JC, Hunter, Mr. McMahon, Paige, and The Undertaker. Honestly, the writers were so focused on incorporating the wrestlers' personas that they completely butchered everything about the film, especially our main character, Cody Maverick.
I worship those guys. Seeing them surf made me who I am today.
R.I.P. Big Z, I guess. The first movie made it clear that Big Z was the whole reason Cody fell in love with surfing. But now the writers conveniently forget about that detail, hoping that we will too. This inconsistency is just one of many problems in a sequel that feels like it's trying to pander to WWE fans and little kids at the same time. But if this film is really meant for kids, then why in the world does it include this questionable scene?
What the hell? Oh my...
Yes, Surf's Up 2 Wave Mania is a complete joke, and most of us pretend it doesn't even exist. Thankfully, though, Sony does at least one Cody in the Surf's Up sequel. Sadly, Sony isn't the only studio that has ruined a follow-up. Is anyone else getting major Emoji Movie vibes from this? Ralph Breaks the Internet feels less like a sequel and more like a Disney advertisement. Of course, it's nice and all to see the Disney princesses and other characters from the studio, but I feel like that takes away from the essence of the film. The real issue is how badly the writers mishandle Ralph and Vanellope. In the first film, Vanellope's biggest goal was to be a real racer in Sugar Rush, so it's weird to watch her suddenly be fine with putting that whole world at risk. It's one thing to change her mind about what she wants in life. It's another for her to become weirdly careless about everyone else around her. Because of her actions, Vanellope and the other racers are left without a game. And instead of comforting her, Ralph can only focus on himself.
You sleep in, you do no work, then you go to Tappers with me every night.
This right here is the start of Ralph's problematic behavior in the sequel. We should have seen him grow as a character, but no. Disney turns him into a clingy mess who can't function without Vanellope. And once she starts bonding with Shank, he completely loses it.
No, she's been brainwashed. That's what this is, because the Vanellope I know would never abandon me like that.
How is this the same Ralph from the first film? This man's just an insecure crybaby. I mean, I can somewhat see him being afraid to lose his friend, but that doesn't justify him unleashing an actual virus just to sabotage her choice. As someone who dealt with viruses in Wreck-It Ralph, you'd think he knows not to mess with them. Ultimately, Ralph Breaks the Internet is a terrible sequel with so many inconsistencies you'd think the writers didn't even watch the first film. Thankfully, Disney finally does it right with one of its latest sequels.
Jokes are a classic defense mechanism for someone with a traumatic childhood.
Would you like a traumatic adulthood?
Ah yes, there's the Nick Wilde we know and love. Zootopia 2 expands on the world from the first film, making it better than we expected. Like the first film, this sequel talks about prejudice. Only this time, it's not predator versus prey, but reptiles versus mammals. As you can see, no one really likes reptiles in Zootopia. Gary DeSnake's role in uncovering the secret behind Zootopia adds real intrigue to the plot, as well as his friendship with our main characters. But the real heart of Zootopia has always been Judy and Nick. This sequel builds on their flaws, fears, and the emotional pressure that drives a wedge between them, which makes it hit even harder when they come together again.
And I only take what you say personally because you're the only one in my life who ever believed in me, even when I don't even believe in myself.
And the thought of losing you scares me because you're my pack.
So, you two or what?
At this point, their dynamic becomes way more personal, making their growth as partners the best part of the whole sequel. And at the same time, the villains give the story an extra push. The movie points so hard towards the Linksleys that it makes you stop looking anywhere else. This, of course, makes the twist land even harder.
Last case, there was kind of a twist.
I know.
Credit where credit's due, Disney finally understands how to make a good twist villain again. And the best part of this reveal is that even afterwards, Paubert still feels like a clumsy and nervous character. He doesn't suddenly transform into a completely different person like Bellwether from Zootopia. Disney, therefore, learned its lesson and finally created a sequel that neatly expanded the world and characters from the first film. Unlike Pixar, who completely lost the plot with Cars 2.
Gatling gun. Request acknowledged.
Shoot, I didn't
Request acknowledged.
Yeah, that's pretty much the whole film. Pixar could have built on everything that made the first film memorable, but they ended up swerving into international spy thriller territory. Man, how did we get here? Cars was originally about Lightning McQueen slowing down and realizing life is more than just the finish line. So, how did the writers conclude Mater should be front and center?
How about that pistachio ice cream?
No, wasabi.
Oh, same old. What's up with you?
Konnichiwa?
Look, I've got nothing against this guy. He's fun in small doses and definitely an essential part of the franchise. But turning him into the main character feels like too big a shift, especially when Pixar somehow makes him dumber in the process.
There he is!
How the agents ever mistake him for a spy is beyond me. Meanwhile, Lightning McQueen, the actual main character of the franchise, gets pushed to the side. Any amount of racing he does gets constantly overshadowed by spy gadgets and explosions. Now, McQueen is just here to race and occasionally react while Mater stumbles through espionage. Now, to be honest, the film isn't terrible. It has lots of fun scenes, but they all belong in a different film, not a car sequel. This film could have easily been one of Mater's tall tales, and it would have made way more sense. But as a sequel, it's just the awkward middle child of the trilogy, doing nothing to build on the first film or lead into the third. But everything Cars 2 got wrong is Illumination gave us a cluttered sequel with The Secret Life of Pets 2. Honestly, the first film wasn't great by any means, but somehow this is worse. Instead of keeping the main characters together, the movie splits everyone into 3 separate storylines, making it feel like 3 pet-themed episodes stitched together. This concept may work for other films, but here you just can't fully immerse yourself in any of the stories. Max, for instance, establishes early in the film that he hates kids, but it doesn't take long for him to change his mind.
Liam did something I never expected.
Max! I love you, Max.
Apparently, one hug is all it takes for Max to feel differently. And look, Max growing to love the baby isn't a bad idea, it just feels too rushed. Far from being believable, this story arc throws him straight into the overprotective big brother cliche. Meanwhile, Gidget's just out there trying to retrieve a toy Max left with her. And then we've got Snowball, who's in his own Delulu land.
Good morning, New York City!
Eventually, the characters come together, but it just feels too messy. Overall, the sequel throws away the first film's charm, leaning into more cartoon nonsense. I get that this is a kids' movie, but the writing just feels flat and the plot is too chaotic. Chaos, however, isn't always a bad thing, and Illumination proves that with Despicable Me 2.
And sometimes I eat instead of facing my problems.
Gru is so real for that because same. This sequel answers the question, what does a former supervillain even do after retirement? In Gru's case, he becomes fully invested in his life with his daughters, even dressing up as a princess for Agnes's birthday party. However, things take an interesting turn when he's recruited by the Anti-Villain League and meets his new partner.
Agent Lucy Wilde of the AVL. Oh, whoops.
Lucy Wilde turns out to be true to her last name. She's chaotic, intense, and sometimes makes Gru look like the more socially adjusted one. But somewhere between the missions and the disguises, he starts seeing her as more than just a colleague. Before he can act on it, though, the villain kidnaps Lucy.
And I send that rocket straight into the same volcano where I faked my death.
El Macho is more intimidating than Vector ever was in Despicable Me. This guy is super hardcore and literally faked his death riding a shark and jumping into a volcano. His over-the-top energy is the perfect fit for the sequel. Unfortunately for him, he learns firsthand what happens when someone tries to hurt people that Gru cares about. For a studio with not many hits, Illumination definitely gets it right with Despicable Me 2. The writers add a new dynamic to Gru's life that works wonders. Which sadly can't be said for DreamWorks, which is known for throwing out banger sequels, but somehow gave us the abomination that is Megamind versus the Doom Syndicate.
Which nobody can deny.
Oh boy, I don't even know where to begin. From the very first scene, it's clear as day that this sequel lacks the charm of the original Megamind. The animation alone looks like a rough draft that got pushed into a full movie. Also, who the heck are the Doom Syndicate and why have we never heard of them before? I mean, wasn't Megamind's entire character in the first film built around being a loner who never had real friends, except for Minion? Who, by the way, is a whole other problem in this sequel.
Megamind gave me a new name. Old Chum. It means old friend.
What is this
What's worse, though, is his dynamic with Megamind in this film.
Chum, be a good assistant and deal with this for me.
Whoa!
Man, why is Megamind such a bully here? Throughout the movie, Chum feels like an unappreciated sidekick who wants more. That would have been fine if this concept hadn't already been resolved in the original Megamind. And considering this sequel takes place just a few days after the first film, there's literally zero need to bring it back. This sadly isn't the only inconsistency in this movie.
Because I, Machiavellian, am the evil genius who taught Megamind everything he knows.
Say what now? Didn't the first film already establish that Megamind's evil comes from the inmates he grew up around in prison? So what's this floating brain thing doing here? Just another plot point that makes no sense, I guess. Megamind versus the Doom Syndicate, therefore, is yet another sequel we all pretend doesn't exist. On the other hand, DreamWorks completely redeems itself with Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
I am Puss in Boots. I laugh at death.
Is that what you think?
Like the original film, this sequel contains the classic Puss in Boots adventures, but this time, the feline hero is down to his last life, which naturally makes him spiral and look for a solution. And it's on his journey to regain his lost lives where he's joined by Kitty Softpaws along with one of the most unusual yet positive characters in DreamWorks history.
Want to rub my belly?
What's happening?
As weird as Perito is, he's got a heart of gold and somehow manages to bring out the best in everyone around him. Well, almost everyone.
It's so cute how you think that would work on me. Don't you know I'm dead inside?
While most villains today come with tragic backstories to justify their villainy, Jack Horner is just unapologetically evil. However, even he gets overshadowed by the real threat of the movie. DreamWorks really set the bar too high with this villain. One would consider death to be neutral, just an inevitable force. But he comes for Puss early for wasting away 8 out of his 9 lives.
I do love the smell of fear. It's intoxicating.
Man, it's gonna be hard for DreamWorks to ever top Death as a villain. In fact, the studio even gave us not one, but 3 great villains if you count Goldilocks and the Three Bears. DreamWorks somehow created a film that perfectly balances humor, emotion, and adventure, making Puss in Boots: The Last Wish one of the best sequels in animation history.